This week we have Chris from Fish for Thought. He's a person that I've never met in person, and I've only talked to in emails and messages back and forth in comments. I gotta admit, I'm a huge fan of his show. I love his fish tank reviews. His commentary is just really entertaining and fun, and I think he adds a cool perspective to the fish keeping hobby on YouTube. So if you haven't met him already, let's have a talk with Chris. Health check passed. Okay.
Nice.
I guess we'll run with it and we'll
All
see
right.
how it does.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the folks at home, this will look probably a lot different than every other video I've done in this way, and that's because poor Chris suffered at the hands of fate. As my microphone settings and stuff were just way out of whack last time we tried to do this. I didn't notice actually until minutes before I got on the phone with Corey from Aquarium Co-op. And then I spent the first half hour of our session like, oh no, I gotta fix it so it's not like that. And then I spent like an hour or two editing it. My Patreons have seen the video because they're all linked there. Yeah, you got the mug? And anyway, so long story long, I'm redoing this because Chris is I'm a big fan of his show, and I really wanted it to sound really good. Corey's ended up sounding pretty good after we messed with it over and over again, but Chris's was really borderline on whether or not I wanted to put it out. So we're trying out some new technology. I'm trying out Zencastr. So far, it's been a lot of fun, and we're gonna see how this goes. Okay, so would you like to introduce yourself, Chris?
Sure. For those of you who don't know me, hi, my name is Chris. I run the YouTube channel Fish for Thought. It's basically just a fish keeping YouTube channel where I review fish tanks and I aquascape my own fish tanks and do some shorts as of late. I try to be funny. My humor is not for everyone, but some people tend to find me funny. That's pretty much it. That's all I do.
I find you funny for sure.
Oh, thank you.
And I think I think we watch the same channels that like help with YouTube channels. Like, do you watch Angry Brit?
No, I don't actually, but that sounds funny.
Well, he did a show. I noticed he did a show about why the survey links were broken. Like, they're kind of a broken feature that like really helps some of the people weren't taking advantage of, but the ones that did, like, it helped a lot. And then when I saw you were doing the survey links, I was like, all right, I'll try that too. So I put out a few, and then he did one about shorts and how they were really super effective. And then I started seeing more shorts, or noticing maybe more shorts from you too. And I was just like, man, he's on it.
Yeah. Total coincidence. I have never watched or heard of his stuff, but yeah, just trying to take advantage of what YouTube as a platform is. It's always evolving. It's always trying to compete with all the other platforms. This hashtag shorts thing is a direct competition with TikTok, Instagram, just going for that fast-paced stuff that people like nowadays. And the polls, the community posts, I always liked community posts, but then when the polls came up and I realized, wow, a lot of people do vote. I don't even like have any subjects or even think too hard about what polls I want to do. It's just like, what do I want to know about my viewers in this moment? And sometimes I'm like, do you like coffee or tea better? And then I get like 15,000 people voting. So that's a pretty significant demographic of my audience that are giving their opinions on if they like tea better or coffee. And there's a lot of fun comments to read as well from that. So I really enjoy that part. I think YouTube did a great job with, how interactive the polls are.
I think so too. And what it does is it gives you more. I think the broken part of it is that it gives you more interactions. So they interact with the poll, then maybe you get a thumbs up or a thumbs down on it too if they thought it was interesting or humorous or whatever. And then they make a comment to even further elaborate. So you get like 3 interactions on a post, and that it tells the algorithm that YouTube really loves you, or your audience is really interacting with you and interested in what you have to say. So, how long have you been keeping fish tanks?
How long? Well, since I was 10. So I'll just leave it at more than a decade. Yeah, for a while.
You told a story before about your first aquarium, and you said that you had been begging your parents for about a year, and then you went to the library and read every book in the library and stuff. Uh, what level of interest do you think is necessary for a young person like that to enter the hobby? I mean, what's the level of interest that you think would signify a potential future successful fish keeper?
Well, honestly, I think it's hard to tell, really. And it's really dependent on the individual. It varies a lot. I think just kids in general, they like to keep some sort of pet. They like to, take care of some sort of critter. They find them interesting. And that tends to change when people grow up. Some people stick with that. Some people like grow out of it. But I think as long as they're interested, and as long as they're interested enough to actually look into it themselves, there's, kids who just want to keep something and then they don't want any responsibility attached to that 1 week in, and their parents are doing all the work for them. I think that's a little bit like, kind of iffy. But even for that, like, who's not to say like their first fish would kind of impact them in a way where it leads to something else in the future. Perhaps they lost interest after a week, but perhaps that first week that they had the fish, even though they stopped caring for it, it might be a fond memory of their childhood. So I don't think we should ever, limit kids and try to be like, hey, you're not interested enough, so you shouldn't keep fish or whatever. I don't think that's a good mindset, but there's a limit to that, right? As parents, I think it falls to the parents' responsibility more, because kids, they can make their own decisions for some things, but again, it's not the most informed. Parents should know a bit better, and they should, figure out what's acceptable for them, and for the health of the fish. Ideally, trying to get their kid to read books or read articles online about this thing, or watch YouTube videos and learn about the hobby a bit more, do things properly. That would be the best. That would be very ideal, because then the child and the parent are bonding over pretty much the science experiment. That's really what it is, right? If you're doing
Really,
if you're doing it properly, it's a science experiment that the kid and the parent can do together, which is invaluable. That in itself is probably the most beneficial thing that comes out of this. And of course, the fish doesn't get abused, right? As a result of that as well. So, I guess to answer your question, I'm kind of beating around the bush. There really is no like threshold. I think, yeah, everyone's different. Every family situation is different, but the ideal would be kid and parent doing some research together, treating it as a science experiment, and go from there.
I think for me, I want it. I think my ideal scenario for something like that is that it's a real it's it's done with purpose. Like it's not just something that's a flash in the pan kind of thought at PetSmart while you're buying cat food. Hey, let's try a betta, or let's buy a whole aquarium set up. I think inevitably most aquariums are probably set up and like maybe not exactly that scenario, but something similar to that. I know my first tank, um, uh, there was internet, but I mean, I'm talking about my first tank as an adult. Like I killed fish as a child, but it was like it was kind of one of those things. Like I remember there was an aquarium in my room, but I don't remember anything else about it. And then like it must not have been there very long, because not long afterwards, it was gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was when I was a little kid. And then in high school, I think I tried to keep a tank too, but obviously that didn't last long. And there was no internet. There's no internet back then. So you read anything you wanted to know. I pretty much, even though we had internet, I read books when I first started keeping tanks. I read books and stuff, but still, I bought an aquarium way before I bought a book about how to keep an aquarium or anything like that. So,
Right. Yeah.
so I'm guilty of it too. I think everybody's got their little their pathway in. But nowadays, man, there's so many resources.
Yeah, just at our fingertips, like
Especially
in
with
2
YouTube.
seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's with YouTube. There's really no reason not to like learn a little bit. And what I do is, if someone comes to me asking for a question, I was like, hey, here's some great resources for you to help. And if it's not my video necessarily, but somebody else's video or something else too. Which reminds me, you've got a video series all set up for just beginners, right?
Yeah, kind of, yes. I try to gear like every video towards beginners. Maybe some aren't as beginner friendly, but that's kind of what I was thinking about when I started this YouTube channel. It's geared towards beginners, but kind of recently, not really recently. It's called 1 Minute Fish. What was it? 1 minute. I forgot. 1 Minute Fish Tank. I think. Yeah. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I released one of those. But yeah, it's a playlist. 1 Minute Fish Tank. Basically, just quick tips that beginners would really benefit from, but also people who've been in this hobby for a while that maybe just didn't know about this tip. 1 Minute Fish Tank, kind of like under 1 minute or just close to 1 minute, and you get some neat little trick out of it, like how to quickly clean the sheen of layer of oil that's floating on top of your water. Or I think I made one or two about how to handle algae by controlling your light, putting your light on a timer, something simple like that, that not every single person already knows about. Yeah.
So, is Fish Tank Review your most popular video series on your channel?
Yeah, by far, Fish Tank Review is pretty much the one series that has really helped this channel grow. Um, and yeah, it's always surprising how many people resonate with it, and how many people have made it like their regular Monday sort of series. I like that it's on Monday too, and I think some of my viewers do as well, because not many other shows or series come out on a Monday, and Monday sometimes can be difficult,
Yeah.
right? And to have something on a Monday to look forward to, it's always a nice thing.
Can you hear that?
Yes, that's not my stomach.
I have a tornado brewing outside, but I'm that dedicated to this interview. If you see parts of my house, just run, Pecktec, run.
Oh man,
I think the recording goes up on the internet, so it'll be saved.
I really hope I don't see any of that. I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, you have, how many fish tanks do you have at home that could potentially be damaged?
I have 13 fish tanks right now.
Wow.
So what do you think it is about Fish Tank Review that's really resonated with people? What did they like about it, in your best guess anyway?
Well, I think one of the reasons why is that they get to see their kind of frustration with fish abusers and bad fish tanks, and they get to see it personified in sort of like a video format, um, something that they would want to say, but here I am saying it for them. And I sort of have a platform that other people can see as well. So perhaps they feel like they're validated. Um, and I hope another reason is that it is entertaining and funny in some capacity to some people. Um,
You do make it funny. It is funny.
I've gotten comments. I've been to
Yeah.
some local fish stores around my area. I was wearing a mask too. I don't know how the guy just recognized me. He's like, "Are you that guy on YouTube?" And I wanted to say no, because it could be any guy. I'm Asian and I wear a mask. I could be Ryan Higa, right? Uh, but
Yeah.
they were like, the fish tuber guy. I'm like, okay, you got me. I guess it was my voice, but he was saying, I love your show and stuff, but it kind of went a little south. You know, he was complimenting, but then he put in some comments like, you're like, you're not so hype, you're not like, you're kind of low key and you're kind of funny. And I'm like, are you complimenting me or not right now? You're just like kind of funny. But he's like, yeah, you're not funny in your own way. And at the time I was like, thanks. But now after reflecting it, I was like, yeah, I guess I am. I'm just low key, you know. I keep it chill to a degree, and I don't know.
I think you've got that subtle, dry humor that I really enjoy, and you've really leaned into the ASMR aspect of the whole thing too, with the way you have the mic and stuff, and you get the real smooth voice. And I think I think there's a combination of things that really make that show work. I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
Now, and people submit their tanks for review. Like there's a portion of the show that's kind of like maybe ripping on weird things you see around the internet. And then there's a portion of the show where people have submitted their tanks and then you talk to them. And I never see you're never mean to any of those people. And that's good. But they did, or not often anyway. And but they did submit their tanks for review. So it's not like you're just finding random people and going off on their aquariums necessarily. But the ones you do go off on, there are a few that are. Do people send you these things, all like weird links to other stuff, like the really bad stuff?
Yeah. At first, I was like, "Yay, thanks! I don't have to keep looking like myself around the internet because sometimes it gets tiring, right? And sometimes I can't find that many bad things or like outrageous things, and people send them in.
Right.
But as I've grown and the series have grown, yeah, I have just a pile of trash. You know, like imagine if everyone around your neighborhood thinks you like garbage. So every Sunday they would just bring heaps of garbage and be like, "Well, we don't want it, but this guy apparently loves garbage." Like one of my favorite scenes from The Office is I don't know if you know this scene, but Dwight is trying to educate people on like how germs actually and bacteria actually help your immune system. So then Jim likes to pull pranks on Dwight, and Jim says to everyone and asks Dwight, "So you're saying that if we want to cough or we want to sneeze, it'd be best to sneeze in your face because then you get more exposure to germs." And Dwight's like, I guess, like he didn't want to be wrong about that. But then uh, the video
Right.
cuts to a compilation of how time goes on and everyone around the office, whenever they need to sneeze, they they keep it in and they run to Dwight and sneeze in his face, and he's just taking it all in. Like I feel like Dwight. That's how I feel. Every time someone sends me an Instagram DM, I open it and it's like, "Hey, check out this bad tank," and I see these fish getting abused. It takes a toll. Um, yeah, it definitely takes a toll on me.
So do you get the feeling it's sort of this hell world of bad aquariums out there, and you're just kind of the recipient of well, even myself, somebody sent me some weird advertisement, and I was like, oh, I have to send this to Chris.
Yeah, I saw that.
We just all want to help you out.
That was an interesting guy with an interesting
Yeah, I
product.
know. I get some weird products thrown my way. People wanting me to represent them or something, and it'll be everything from just like a what looked to be a block of, like, I don't know if it was a ceramic block or if it had carbon embedded in it or something like that. These weird carbon blocks and stuff. What's the weirdest product that you've come across that you think is just ridiculous?
Weirdest product that I've come across. I mean, yeah. So there's a few like the ones that are half pencil cases and half faucet, and then the faucet is the filter and it filters the tank. But the tank is like 0.5 gallons and there's 5 goldfish in it. Like WTF, right? But there's this famous product on FTR. I don't know. I think it was like in the episode 20s or something like that. It's called the Gravity Flow 2. They made a second version. And I mean, the name sounds kick-ass, right? Gravity Flow
Yeah.
2. That's awesome. And these two guys are selling it, and it's obvious they're both just out of it. They're both like high on weed or what's or something. And they're trying
I've got a great idea for an aquarium, man.
to they're just trying to sell this thing that's basically like there's a tube on the top running down into the substrate, and you can turn it on and it creates negative pressure that drives the water out, sort of like a suction pump or like a gravel back, but it's kind of automatic
Right.
because you can turn it on and off. I think it's actually a neat idea, but it's just that the way they portrayed it is, it's a fishbowl and it's not much bigger than 2 gallons, and they're putting
So
goldfish.
was the second version bigger? Because like I saw this in the stores years ago, uh, but it looked like it was maybe a quarter gallon. Like it was just it was like a vase almost with just a little straw coming out the bottom.
Yeah, yeah. I think the second version did get bigger, but not much bigger, not enough for the goldfish that they were portraying or the betta fish that they were portraying. Now, something very interesting recently that happened was I got an email from some seller on Amazon, and
Yeah.
they sell these aquarium products, and they sell this 4 gallon fish tank, and they wanted to send me one to review. And I went on their Amazon page, and I saw that they had gourami or angelfish in there, and it was all over like overstocked. I think there were goldfish in there, and I emailed back, and I'm like, I would love to, but our our brands do not match. Like I can't be out here representing a brand that does that. My brand is strictly against that. And they actually listened. And today, it's been a while, it's been many months, but today they sent back an
Yeah.
email saying, we have taken your suggestions and advice and rebranded. We have a new design. I haven't checked it out yet because I didn't have time today, but I will check it out and see if they listened to. Because I also told them it's not just me, right? If you want to be in this industry, you got to do things right. People identify with when you do things right as a company, and it might be good for your business if you do that, even if you don't partner with me. And luckily, they seem to have obliged, and I think I don't know. I have to check it out and see if they really did a good
Well, it's funny. What's funny is calling them out on something as simple as the way their packaging portrays the ability to keep fish in a small container like that. Even a little bit of a call out like that probably saves some fish somewhere down the road.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
hope so. Yeah.
I get really pissed off in pet stores all the time when I see the different brandings of fish, and they're all photoshopped in. Like they're not.
Yes.
I have serious doubts that any of these fish were even for a minute inside of one of these little containers. But I see like mismatched fish, and what's worse are the ones that suggest fish, right?
Yeah.
Fish you could put in here, and it'll be like, no, that's inappropriate. That's inappropriate. That's inappropriate.
Yeah. And I mean, I've worked in these places where these ridiculously mismatched fish are being represented in these small tanks, and I had to really struggle with the balance of trying to be a good uh, employee and selling stuff versus trying to keep people from abusing fish. And most of the time, because the head supervisor or like corporate wasn't there, I was able to work some magic. Um, but work some magic in the way where I'm saying maybe you should keep it to shrimp, or this is way too small for a Siamese fighting fish or a betta fish. Um, but the thing is, I found that I'm not fighting with corporate because they don't really care that much. I'm just one employee. I'm fighting with the company's logos, like you said, the mismatched fish, because the customers see that and they're like, this company has this fish in there. Why would you tell me that this is not good enough for that fish? Why would the fish be on there then? That's very hard to deal with. That's probably the hardest thing to deal with.
There's all these people. It's like, do you not realize that advertisements lie? They do. They're all lies. I mean, maybe there's some part of it that's true, but I worked in advertising as a photographer, you know, we're shooting for the absolute best case scenario, like this idealistic scenario that probably doesn't exist in anyone's real actual life. So
Yeah, I mean, one of the examples that's ridiculous. I don't know if they're doing it still now, but at least the fish food before, um, some time ago, the instructions for feeding are ridiculous. Like I first noticed it, like the first time I fed my fish. I've never actually followed those feeding regimes. Um, you know, the ones where they're like, feed as much as your fish can eat in 2 minutes. I'm like, really? 2 whole minutes? Some say 5 minutes. Yeah.
and what if you misdo that? What if you do the initial thing and it's like half the oh, they didn't eat it all. Ah, well, I won't pour half the can in next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do with the leftovers?
Yeah. It's introducing so much ammonia and getting your fish overfed. Uh, I guess for so that you buy more fish food, but
That's so. You've got some really beautiful aquariums there around you. Who inspires your aquascaping and stuff? Where do you get your inspiration from?
well, of course, ADA. You know, can't go too far from ADA if you're in this hobby. Um, and just a lot of different YouTubers like Dustin's Fish Tanks, Green Aqua, uh, the Scenescaper, you know, all these, and ADU Aquascaping. I don't think his channel's up anymore. Is a shame, but he did really
Oh yeah.
wonderful scapes. But actually, if I'm being very honest, you are one of my biggest inspirations for aquascaping. I'm serious, and I've already made a video. Is scheduled to come out in the next 2 months or whatever. That kind of explained that my aquarium and my aquascaping style is following yours or inspired by yours a lot.
Oh, well, thank you, man. Don't make me cry. No, that is really sweet. I appreciate that. That is really nice of you to say. I a lot of mine are just you know, for so long I didn't really know what would happen with the plants and stuff. Like they like it when I put plants in here.
Yeah.
I'll put more plants in, and then they just every now and then I get lucky and they grow really well and stuff. And it's so funny. People are like, "I like that jungle style," and I was like, "Oh, you mean that style where I don't trim them for months on end and I just let them sit here and I don't do much?" I like that style too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the style. I don't do it as well as you, and I say it in the other video too. Of course, because you're the original. But I'm getting there.
I tell you, I everything changed for me when I discovered Amano. I got one of his books, I think, for a present, and I've talked about this, I think, with George Farmer recently. But the I got one of his books, and it changed the way I looked at aquariums forever. Like all I wanted to do at that point was make these beautiful landscapes and stuff. Yeah, is it easy to get ADA stuff where you are, or do you have to mail order? Like does not exist in Tennessee.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that it doesn't exist. It didn't really exist here at all either, except for one day I went to my one of the local fish stores that I frequent, and I did a double take, ADA 60p Cube Garden right here. That's where I got it from, and there were like three of them just on the ground. I did a double take because I was like, how is that possible? I've never seen 88 anything here. That's incredible. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I look like. And so and so, you know, I looked at the price tag. It was pretty steep. I wasn't planning to get 88, but I was in the market for another tank. Uh, so of course I just left that area and I went to look at the hardscape and stuff. But my mind it was already made up. Like the second I saw that 88 tank, I was like, oh, my wallet is gonna die today. I am getting this puppy. Um, but I was taking pictures of it and putting it on Instagram the moment I saw it. I'm like, wow, 88. And then, 30 minutes later, I was walking out the door with a pretty expensive tank. But that is the first time that I've seen any ADA products just in any local fish store. I think they should definitely start, stocking more of that because it's getting pretty popular, especially where I am, and people could really profit for selling ADA or UNS or
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's it's kind of this global standard in really fine, high quality aquarium equipment, and I've been shocked. I've been to retail stores all over the U.S. and I've never seen it for sale. Now, maybe at different times I didn't notice or wasn't aware of what I was looking at, but for the most part, and we have other things that are really good. Like we have Seven Ports here, uh, and they have really that's the I make all kinds of low iron glass aquarium, videos and stuff. Those nice rimless tanks. They do really cool stuff. But if I wanted, if I want aqua soil or if I want power sand's especially hard to find. But if I want any of those things, I have to send off. It's always an eBay item or a Amazon item for me if I want to get anything like that.
yeah, I can't even find aqua soil on Amazon sometimes.
Really,
Yeah, and it's in
no
demand.
Amazonia on
Yeah,
Amazon.
no Amazonia aqua soil on Amazon. What's up with that?
Come to think of it, like the power sand I ordered from a store. Now I know they have a U.S. at least retailer um, or distributor of some sort, but I don't know. Maybe it's just priced out of the market for a lot of places. I know, especially the small local fish stores kind of struggle to keep up
Yeah,
anyway,
it's so
and
popular. Yeah.
yeah, items like that are probably hard to come by. So you've I'm talking like some of these questions like Chris and I have had almost all, not quite the same conversation, but a lot of this conversation already. So it's funny. I'm having trouble asking you the same questions I asked you before. So
It's totally fine. I can barely remember what I answered anyway. So
okay, that's good.
fresh in my mind.
Well, one thing I'd asked you is do you have trouble finding fish in Vancouver? Are you in Vancouver, right?
Yeah,
Is it okay that I say that?
yep, totally fine. My viewers know I'm in Vancouver. Yep. Uh,
Okay.
uh, not really.
What's the fish scene like there? I mean, is it hard to find like things like fish, or is there any particular aquarium oriented thing that you can't find there?
I would say I have nothing to really complain about. I don't think the aquarium scene is the strongest here, and partly because it's Canada. We're always a little slower on uptaking things. Usually goes to the States first. But you know, hearing and seeing how a lot of people struggle to find these fish or plants, I think we're in a pretty good place that I shouldn't really complain. In my area alone, well, just like the general wide area, maybe driving limit to 1 hour in that area alone, there's like maybe 5 to 6 local fish stores that are not including like big brands like PetSmart. We don't have Petco here. We just have PetSmart. We used to have Petcetera, but that closed down, and Super Pets, but that also closed down. But yeah, 5 or 6 local fish stores that some of them also sell exotic reptiles and other stuff. But yeah, just dedicated to fish keeping. I think and there's more that's coming up. There's this place called Wet Habitat that just sprung up, and they look very premium, as in like they might have some ADA stuff. There's April's Aquariums that got
Right.
to new ownership, and the dude over there is doing great stuff. Um, and Aquariums West, which last time I checked does have ADA lighting, which is very exciting. I think
Oh,
it might have been Twin Star,
maybe
but yeah, something cool there.
had to work some extra hours, but it'll be exciting for a while
Yeah,
till you have to buy them.
right. Yeah, take a hit with
It's funny. it's sometimes it's okay. Like if you know it's going to work, if you know for sure it's like a really good product, sometimes it's okay. I tell you, I'm obsessed with the Fluval Lights right now. Like the way, to me, my most favorite innovation in aquarium products, the thing I've always wanted to see is that ramping up and ramping down of the lights. That the
It's
ability to have a different color in the morning, and then a
yeah.
different color in the afternoon, and then the evening, and then also the intensity and stuff. I see such a huge yeah, I see such a huge difference in my behavior, the fish behavior and stuff.
Okay.
In
Yeah.
fact, another thing you've inspired me to do. So I got contacted by custom aquariums or custom cages. They also have a custom cages, and they want me to do a vivarium challenge. And I've always wanted a crested gecko, and I know you've got Rapashi there.
Yeah, she's over there sleeping. Yeah,
So I'm making a bioactive vivarium. In fact, I'll send you a picture of it in a
that's
little bit.
awesome, dude. That's exciting.
And
That's exciting.
I've there's a reptile show happening in a couple of weeks, and I'll go shop for when that happens. But right now, I've got it all planted, and I'm letting the plants grow in. I just finished it
Oh
yesterday,
wow.
but I
You
installed one
got
of
it.
those. I've never seen anybody do this. I'm sorry, what?
You got escaped already? That's great.
Yes, yes, I've got it. I went to Josh's. I got a coupon for Josh's Frogs as part of the challenge, and I got. I'm sure you're familiar with that website. It's man, he's got all kinds of crazy supplies, and I bought their substrate and everything like that. And I went to Serpe Design. And I looked on his YouTube page, and he had just made these cool crested gecko enclosures. So I used every material he used, and they're almost the whole technique he did for the sides and the background. And I cut out the sides and I painted them with the dry lock and stuff. And man, it was a lot of fun. I don't know if I can ever buy another background.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it now because yeah, Serpa Design stuff is out of this world. And if you followed him even a bit, then your stuff is gonna look pretty amazing too. You're gonna have to you're gonna inspire me to redo my whole thing. Um, can't wait to see it. And
the,
yeah, I'm super excited for your the reptile exchange. You're gonna see a lot of cool morphs, and you're gonna have one heck of a time trying to find the one that you want to get because there's gonna be so many different options. I hope, fingers crossed. Usually there are for crested.
yeah, me too. Yeah, I'll do either a crested gecko or a gargoyle gecko,
Wow,
which are really
that's
similar.
awesome. Have you also
But we'll see.
yeah have you also considered getting the satanic leaf-tailed gecko? Is that one of your options too? Have you heard of it?
I haven't heard of them.
Oh, you should look into it. If there are those, I don't know what the price discrepancy is. Probably more expensive, but I don't know about that and a gargoyle. Between those might be less of a price difference. So if you're thinking gargoyle, you might want to check up on those too. Those are out of this world.
Is the care very similar?
Yeah, care is very similar, but from what I know, they are less hardy. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. I need sort of a sturdy animal
That's true. Yeah. Maybe start with a
because
Cresty.
I'm a dork.
Yeah.
But so something I did that I haven't seen anyone else do was I put one of those Fluval lights inside of there, inside of the enclosure, because I know that they're real active at like dusk and stuff, and as it starts to get dark, so that light's gonna ramp up and get real dim, so I'll still be able to see in there, and but he'll feel like the sun setting. I hope
Yeah,
we'll see.
that's actually a really good thing to do for the gecko. I want to try to do something like because now, like right now, and for a lot of gecko owners, their lights just suddenly flick on, suddenly flick off. very unnatural for the gecko. But not everyone can afford um, uh, the ramping up lights. But I think for a suggestion, like when they do have that budget, they should switch over sometime because I imagine that would be much more natural of an effect.
Yeah,
It's really good. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the setup that I'm doing is definitely kind of it's a little bit more premium than probably a typical
Wait,
person
I
would
can't wait
get.
to
But
see it.
I mean,
When is the?
I, I've done
Can you give me a hint on?
I've done so many things for Fluval. Like I've made so many advertisements, not really, but promotional videos that help Fluval out. That if I call them up and say, "Hey, I need a light," they'll send me a light. So it
And they're
didn't
really
cost me or my it didn't cost me anything really, but I think it's going to be cool. And I think if it's one of those things where you find one on sale, there's another practical use for one. So, uh, who do you think has the worst aquariums? TikTok or Reddit?
I thought you were gonna make me choose a YouTuber. I'm like, this isn't Hot Ones. um, TikTok or Reddit? Uh, okay. I think
Where do
technically,
you find the most trash? Where do you find the most trash out of those?
technically TikTok has the worst aquariums. Um, just like aquarium builds in general. Like if it's a picture and you look at it and you're like, that's a bad aquarium. Sorry, did I say TikTok? I meant Reddit. Reddit has
Reddit.
the worst like aquariums in general. TikTok has the worst, I guess, naturally videos and showing you like how people treat their fish or aquariums. TikTok has more of like a personal bad fish keeper, fish abuser sort of vibe, and Reddit is like less of the person, but what the person did, as in like that's the crap they made. Yeah.
That's funny. I've seen several in several of your videos. It's like it seems like um, abuse for clicks or something almost. Like they try to do something shocking with a fish like that just to kind of get a little bit more attention, and that always struck me as strange.
Yep. And it's very like clickability you know, is a thing. So if they have some wild thing out there and people are like, they did what? Clickability goes way up. Um, that's that's a thing. Clickbaity thumbnails, which I use myself as well. I try to make clickbaity thumbnails. Gotta admit it. No hiding here.
You know what? They
I
work.
guess so. Yeah.
And if something work, and it's weird. And I've talked to other people about this too, but it's strange how negativity bias, like how effective it can really be. Like a lot of times, if I do a video that's got it implies something bad happened, or it almost I would almost never, like if I had something really tragic happen, I probably won't tell you about it on a video.
Right. Right.
There might be a private post that goes up someplace, but I would never make a video go tell you about this was something really bad, unless it helped people. Like if when bad things happen in my aquariums, like one, nothing that bad ever happens, but if something happened and I could help somebody with it, it's one thing. But I've had a couple of videos where I'm like, I quit, or I did one for Corey that was like, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Corey,
I
and I
feel
had my hands.
that. Yeah.
People people instantly run to that
Yeah.
to see
For sure.
what's going on.
And I don't have any issues with that either. Like I've seen a few people who have made some videos about like I lost everything or my fish tank like something happened and with the thumbnail like a shocked or a sad face. And I don't have anything against it. And I also don't have anything against doing it myself, but it's just the timing and the mood. Kind of, I guess I'm not much of a vlogger. I've tried vlogging a little bit here or there, but it's never clicked, at least not yet. But I just don't feel like making any videos or like even touching any content creation when something is going bad. Like sometimes really bad things
Right.
happen in for me in my fish room or fish corner. Like a long time ago, my Goldfish 40-gallon started leaking, and I tried to seal it, and it was a whole ordeal, right? I tried to seal it like 2 times, and it kept re-leaking. So then I ultimately had to take that down. And I did try to film some of it. It was pretty sparse footage, but at the end, I just gave up. I'm like, I don't want to upload this. This is so depressing. But it ended up, coming out or surfacing during some other videos where, when I rebuy Goldfish or give Goldfish another chance, that then I bring it up. I'm like, the last time, this thing happened, but I never really want to make a whole video just talking about how bad, unless maybe something really bad. You're gonna hear this first, but I actually do have a April Fool's video coming out in, well, next week on March 31st. It's nothing too big. It's just like the title is "It's Over," and I think I'll make my face look kind of sad. Um, but it's kind of like a prank, right? Except,
You gotta go really sad. I want to see get some little tears and
yeah,
stuff. You know.
it's not for no reason. It's because I moved recently, and it is over for that phase of my life. And although this tank and the tank behind me here looks kind of similar, I did a whole rescape for this tank, if you noticed. And that's also to come. And I'm in a whole different space now, and still trying to get used to things. But I mean, it's April Fools, and it matched the time, so I hope people don't unsubscribe.
I might do an April Fool's one too. I want to do like a find me on any fans or something. April Fool's.
OnlyFans, yeah, OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, yeah, OnlyFans.
That's amazing. That's so funny.
So I noticed you have another channel also where you discuss food and you eat things.
Yeah, that's been fun. Um, yeah, it's been pretty fun and funny for me to make those. Like recently, I've been just making the hashtag shorts, and I have
Yeah.
this series about just putting everything I can think of into a spring roll. And I think not the deep fried spring roll, but like the Vietnamese style, like summer roll, some might call it.
Oh
This
yeah,
thin
yeah.
rice paper. It's easy to do, and it tastes really good, at least for most of the things that I've tried. I think the Big Mac one tasted really good. I put a Big Mac. I disassembled a Big Mac and I rolled it, and then I dipped it in the Mac sauce. I don't know what your thoughts on with McDonald's are or whatever. Like, I don't eat it that much, and I'm not like the biggest fan, but Big Mac tasted pretty good. Not gonna lie.
You know, out of everything, there's two things at McDonald's I always get if I go there. One is a Big Mac, and the other one is a filet of fish
Oh
sandwich.
wow. Okay, we have some things in common here because a lot of people don't even would never consider the filet o fish, and they won't even go close. They'd be like, "What?" They'll borderline shame you for buying a filet o fish. But I like it. I really like it.
So for a brief period, yeah, I do too. And for a brief period, they had a double filet of fish,
Yes,
and those were
I tried
amazing.
that. The thing is, I didn't like that as much because I think that was too much of the fish patty just for myself. And I went back to the
Yeah,
single one, and I would just get two if I really wanted. Just get two of the single ones because the tartar sauce is like I'm a big tartar sauce boy and sauce boy in general, but tartar sauce and mac sauce, they're gonna take like years off my life. But I mean, is it really worth living without those sauces? Probably not.
no, not really. I mean, you could live, but it would be an empty
Yeah,
life without flavor.
yeah, exactly.
So I'm a sandwich guy. Like I make anything I eat. Like you give me a plate with mashed potatoes and meatloaf and a roll, and it's going to be a meatloaf sandwich. I mean, I'm going to cut the bread open. I'm going to put stuff inside of it.
Nice.
Do you have a go-to food? Is there something that you always that you run to for food?
I kind of remember this question from last time, and I forgot what I said. But yeah, there's actually three things in my life right now that I run to uh,
All
that,
right.
that are easy to make. and super tasty. One of them is instant noodles. I'll just grab whatever I have. I'll try to premium it up by like adding a few eggs or some spring onions. But the second thing is this thing I would make as a bowl. It's kind of like a gyudon, if you know what that is. It's like a, well, direct translation.
I know. That's
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
that's the fanciest soup I know about.
Gyudon is more like a Japanese dish, and direct translation gyu means meat, and don means rice or rice bowl. So meat rice bowl.
Okay.
But I just add whatever meat I have lying around, like bacon. Usually it's bacon, and then I would put some onions in there, saute some onions and maybe some butter if I'm feeling extra, something extra, and an egg, and I just mix it with the rice, put some soy sauce and some QP mayo, which is like this Japanese version of. I'm getting hungry. I actually haven't eaten yet. I'm intermittent fasting still. It's been a few months. One topic leads to another, but yeah, I haven't eaten anything well, every day basically.
How long do you go in a day? It's about almost 3 o'clock where you are. How long in the day do you go before you eat?
I fast until dinner time pretty much, so around 5 or 6 every day.
You eat once a day?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have another meal or like I'll have some snacks afterwards. But yeah, I don't call it one meal a day, which is what some people might call it, OMAD, one meal a day, or right? Yeah. And I used to, but I don't do that. I don't call it anymore because it's more like intermittent fasting, because sometimes I'll have more than one meal. And I find it easier on myself to not have to commit to just one meal every day. Like that just makes me not want to do it. But when I call it intermittent fasting and I kind of accept that sometimes I might cheat a little bit, I might eat earlier, then, it's easier for me to commit to.
It's intermittent.
Yeah.
That means occasionally I
Exactly.
fast.
No
I
pressure.
mostly fast.
Yeah.
See, I would do that too, but I would only make it to about. I did that a couple of years ago, or tried, and I would get to about maybe 3 o'clock, and I felt like I was doing really well. But then I would just like eat the rest of the day.
Oh yeah, overeat. Yeah, that was a big issue for me as well when I first started. I would overeat so hard and get really bloated. So it was doing the negative of what I wanted to be done, which is cut back a little bit, be a little more lean. But yeah, overeating is a big thing when you first start out.
So, in your videos, comedy is a. I feel like it's a key component. Who inspires your comedic stylings?
Um, Basically anyone. The amalgamation of all the funny stuff I watch. I used to and still sort of do like stand-up comedy. Big fan of
Mm-hmm.
the stand-up comedy giants. Ricky Gervais. Uh, Started with Russell Peters first, but he's not funny anymore to me. His jokes have they were good. They had their time.
They had their
Yeah,
time.
Bill Burr. If I say this next one, it's going to be a little controversial, but Louis C.K. I mean,
You all right?
I don't agree with anything he's done.
I got something to show you.
I guess I have nothing to worry about keeping a PG on this show.
Yeah, I just went demonetized with one hand gesture. Big apology to all the kids watching right now. Or you're welcome. Whatever.
Shake weight. Yeah, shake weight.
Yeah, shake weight. Yeah, hey, it's just a little shake weight cat.
Yeah.
So last time we talked, we're a little bit closer to 2020. In fact, we were either in 2020 or just beyond it. And I asked this of just about everyone in the COVID lockdowns, and I have no idea how locked down you folks are where you were, where you are. But for me, we were at least for a few months very locked down. I'm wondering, did your fish tanks just look stunning after being locked inside with them, or is it pretty much business as usual?
Excuse me. Yeah, good question. I would just say simply business as usual. I have a set amount of time that I dedicate to the fish, even before lockdown, and I would have to because I run a fish tubing YouTube channel. Um, but actually, now that you mention it, I do find myself spending more time being able to enjoy the fish, just being in their presence and just interacting a lot more. I'm actually doing this finger training session with my goldfish. So every day I have to come down here, spend some time with them. Um, not have to. I do enjoy it. They're really cute. Um, and I find myself staring at my fish tanks behind me a lot more as well, and just having, I guess, more indoor time to do that. Yeah,
I've definitely felt like I observe my fish tanks a lot more because I don't have to drive to work.
right. That's a big thing. Yeah,
and and it would be really neat. I wish, like at my job, I always had a fish tank next to my desk,
yeah,
and that tank would always look beautiful. Because when I get annoyed or I get bored or frustrated or something like that, I'd just be over there like, "Oh, there's some algae," you know. And I think my aquariums here have really have gotten the same kind of treatment where I'm just there observing them all the time, and I think I picked up a lot more. Uh, so you mentioned finger training your goldfish.
yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, just trying this thing where, so for every feeding session, I would put my finger into the water and just wiggle it around. And if they're hungry, they come up and nip. And every time they nip, I will drop a pellet in for them to eat. Just simply that. And I'm trying to train them to associate food with pecking on my finger. And whenever they want food, they can peck on my finger, and I would drop a piece of morsel in. And this is the eighth day. I'm doing a video for a week. So yesterday was my last filming session for the week video. So I've stopped filming, but I'm still keeping up with the finger training so that I can show a before or after progress, maybe after a month, maybe after 3 months, and see how accustomed they do. They got they got it pretty fast. At least one of them. The other one is a little slower. But yeah,
But aren't they always hungry? I mean, aren't they always going to nip at your finger?
yeah, that's the thing. When they eat one or two of the morsels, because I'm feeding like they're they're pretty good sized. They need to take some time to chew, and they don't. They're not super comfortable with my hands yet. They're still fairly new, and they don't feel comfortable just staying on top of the water for no reason. So if they do have some food, they'll go back down and they'll chew it. I'll wait around a little bit on top, and then sooner or later they feel like they didn't have enough, and they come back up and nip the finger again, and then I'll put down some more food for them. I don't know how exact or how efficient this is, if I'm doing it properly. There's probably goldfish pros right now rolling their eyes and being like, dude, you are a filthy casual. Yeah, yeah, with the hair. Yeah,
Did you ever see the accessory that they sold that was like a little soccer field
yeah. And I've seen,
where you could trade your goldfish and stuff?
yeah, that's really cool actually. I've seen some videos about that too. I don't know if that's the accessory they used, but they definitely had their own thing where the whole fish tank is a soccer field, and they're just going after the ball. It's pretty cute.
Yeah. A relative of mine gave me one of those about 5 or 6 years ago, and I think I gave it to Goodwill because it was like I thought it was. Part of me thought it was neat. In fact, I think I kept the little feeder thing
Oh
that
yeah,
you're supposed to use to kind of like draw them around.
yeah,
But I was just like, I mean, basically the premise was don't leave it in your fish tank. Like you couldn't. You're supposed to bring the fish to this aquarium where this stuff was in it, like because it had a whole bottom of the tank. It was almost like an undergravel filter size thing, and then you could plug like basketball goals and other things into it. Their sports oriented stuff. If there had been a spaceship or something like that, I'm not a sports guy, so maybe that's what happened.
you're a spaceship guy.
Oh yeah, I love anything that has to do with space. Like
Yeah,
I'm a
same.
huge space fan. Like I watch a
Have
bunch
you
of.
have you watched The Expanse?
Oh yes.
You have
Oh,
watched
I
it?
love that show.
Yeah, The
Yes.
Expanse is so good. It's like
Oh,
my
I love
favorite
that show so
sci-fi
much.
show now. Have you watched the whole thing yet? Like the whole
Yeah,
available?
I've watched all of it.
Yeah, I think season 6 is coming in like December or something like that. I can't wait. I just randomly picked it up
That
because I was like, I need a new show to watch, and The Expanse has been just over there. Like Amazon really likes to push it, so it's always somewhere on that site. And I clicked on
I
it.
noticed that too.
Yeah,
I would watch these science shows, and I kept seeing these things like how accurate is the expanse on space travel, or on anti gravity, or all these different things that they do on the show, and they kept getting high marks, from these things, and it was just interesting enough to just go back and watch it.
yeah, I found it really realistic. Actually, I agree if they say Expanse is realistic, it's probably one of the most realistic sci-fi shows I have watched. Because right now, because I mean, the series ended for me pretty abruptly because I was doing this thing where I'm not checking how many more episodes I have, so it helps with like not expecting the plot to do a certain thing, makes it more organic for me. But the downside is it ends so abruptly for me because I wasn't expecting it to end. And so I had to look for something else to watch. So right now I'm watching Battlestar Galactica. It's always being a meme in my life because of The Office and Dwight, but I'm actually watching it now. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's the most like, yeah, I would say The Expanse did a much better job, albeit like, it's an older show. They had less resources, but ah,
Well, did you watch Babylon 5?
I have not. Would you recommend that?
Yeah, I liked Babylon 5 a lot. A lot. And in fact, I got to interview, oh, what was his name? He was the captain on there. He started some steampunk thing. Well, back when I was doing steampunk stuff, he was trying to start some. Was it Lightstetter? Light. Anyway, he was trying to start some steampunk show, and I talked to him about it some. But it was. I remember. I think if I remember correctly, I remember being shocked because their space scenes were silent. I was like, yeah, because that's the way it would be. There's no sound. There's nothing to carry sound in space.
Right.
So, all these sound effects and stuff, they're just to make us feel a certain way about what's happening on screen.
Yeah.
It's not realistic.
Yeah.
My favorite YouTube channel for space is called what what the math.
What the math? Okay. Never heard of that one.
Yeah,
Sounds interesting.
what the math.
Okay, I'll look them up.
It's got this dude that sounds like he might be like he's probably, I don't know, Ukrainian or something. I'm sure I'm getting that wrong. He's like, "Hello, this is Anton. Hello, wonderful person." And he does this. He's got one of those green screen chairs. By the way, I ordered one of those. Have you seen them? They fit over your chair, and it's just like a little green screen
Yeah.
halo.
Good
Um,
idea.
he's got one of those, I think, and he has all these simulators, these space simulators that he puts up in the background. So he'll show you like a black hole happening and stuff like
Oh
that.
wow.
It's really good stuff.
Awesome.
So you've got Rapashi. Back to aquarium stuff. So you've got some tanks. You've got Rapashi. Do you have any other exotic pets or interesting pets that you like or have kept?
Yeah. Besides Rapashi, I do have Pangea. Surprise, surprise. The other name of the other brand of crested
Both the foods, right?
yeah, complete diet. Pangea is a morning gecko, and she stays about this
Okay.
small. She's oh, what's it called? Uh, that thing where she can reproduce by herself, like asexually. But there was,
Really?
yeah, she's there's a term, and I forgot it, and that's sad. But if you guys Google it, or maybe yeah, um, she can reproduce by herself. But she still needs this. She still needs to pseudo copulate, which is like having fake sex, and it doesn't even have to be with a male. It could be with another female, and they just clone themselves indefinitely. Morning geckos, not like morning like good morning, morning like your uncle died. that kind of morning. Yeah.
Really?
Uh,
In the way it's spelled,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Why do they call them that?
I think it's because of the lack of male uh, in their species. There's speculation that there aren't any males, but most people believe that there's very few males, but they still exist. Um, and yeah, it's very interesting from a evolutionary standpoint. Like if we're a blip in the existence of any biological life, they are you can't even fathom how small they are because the way they're built to not exist. We just caught them at a good time in all life's history because with cloning yourself indefinitely, if one disease affects one of them, it'll wipe out their whole population. I think there's only two variants. There's a Hawaiian and there's another one I can't remember. But yeah, all you need are two diseases and they're done because genetic diversity is so low in their species.
How interesting. I've seen them. Like I've seen in my research for looking for lizards and stuff. I've noticed them, but I thought that they were so small and stuff. I didn't really give them much consideration. Now I have to go back and look.
Yeah,
It's very fascinating.
they are definitely fascinating, but they're definitely more of a pet that you kind of look at like like a dart frog instead of interact with like the crested gecko. Yeah, but some people have.
Right, you're not gonna be grabbing them and stuff.
Yeah, they've been known to be tamed down, but they're also escape artists, so I wouldn't recommend. The first night they were over at my house, or she was over, like when I first got her, she almost got away from me, and I would have gotten two, but the pet store only had one left because the others all escaped. So I only had one.
So they're all living in the walls somewhere of the pet store.
Probably dead, but yeah, at one point.
I had a pet store that had a tokay gecko that had escaped, and they thought it died, but really it was just living above the aquariums.
Oh wow.
And they caught it. It would come down above the guppies. It would come down and just like occasionally grab them because guppies are dumb and they're always at the surface of the water.
Yeah. Wow, man, tokay geckos are something else. That's amazing.
It had grown to an enormous size, like for a tokay gecko, apparently, and like it scared that person that found it to death.
Oh wow. I mean, the tokay gecko was getting fresh live bearers every day whenever it wants, so
yeah,
good feeding.
As much as it could catch.
Yeah, all you can eat. Would you ever
And
consider?
you think too, with like guppies, you wouldn't notice. Like if you missed one out of 30 of them, you probably wouldn't.
Wow, the perfect scheme. Would you ever consider getting a tokay gecko?
I used to want one really bad, but I think this my first lizards were bearded dragons.
Same.
And well, my first lizard I had when I was 16 was a Savannah Monitor.
Oh wow.
And they're enormous, and they eat mice and then rabbits, when they're older and stuff. And it's very, very young, and my exotic pet keeping prowess weren't up to snuff. I think I ended up giving him to a veterinary school just because I couldn't keep him.
Yeah.
And it was just he was getting too big and stuff. And then later on, I got bearded dragons. The other thing, I was scared to death of him. Like I never handled them enough to make it tame.
Oh, okay.
Like tame enough to me not to be just really scared of it.
It can be scary if they want to. They get big.
Oh yeah, they'll bite a finger off, but
Yeah.
maybe not off, but they'll hurt you real bad, give you a disease.
That
But
black beard.
I love
scares me.
I love the bearded dragons. Have you kept those before?
Yeah, I had one before. A little female. Yeah.
I thought they were neat, but I had a male and female, and I thought, oh, I'll breed bearded dragons, and I did. Some of my first videos are what I have one video like way in the beginning of my YouTube of some babies that I had bred, but lizard sex is brutal. Especially with bearded dragons. I mean, it was the kind of thing, like, if I'd had my child was watching or something, I'd cover their eyes because it's just like I'd never seen anything like that.
Kids,
And
if you were to take anything away from this podcast, remember, lizard sex is brutal. Comment down below.
yeah,
Lizard sex is brutal. That's the secret comment of this video.
but it was terrible. And then she laid the eggs, and I took the eggs over to a local store that had an incubator, and they incubated them, and they hatched out little babies, and I had that whole experience. Then I gave them all away. I found a nice family that was willing to take care of them and keep them the way they're supposed to. And I kind of give them a little interview and taught them whatever I knew, and handed them off. And I checked in with them for a couple of years after that. They see I worked with one of the parents of these people, and they would tell me all the time, "Oh, they're still doing good and stuff." So they went on and had a nice life somewhere else,
That's
and
awesome.
I got to, a little less salmonella in my life, and I haven't touched a lizard since. In fact, I've like, one thing I love about aquariums is, like, aside for some food, I don't have to deal with this every
No
day.
salmonella
Like, it's like,
for the most part.
yeah, just I put a little bit of food in there, and if I'm gone for a week or so, they don't care. They don't even know. They don't have no sense of time, as far as I know, anyway. But I don't have any fish. What? It's feeding time.
Yeah.
If they see it, it's feeding time. That's it. That's all I know.
It's a good skit right there. That's a great skit. It's feeding time. What are we doing?
There was an old Saturday Night Live where they had these fish, like, it was just their face. The whole back of it was like this puppet thing, and they just kind of like do this, and then they had green screen all around, so it was just like their face and a big fish body doing that, and they were talking about stuff. I'm dying to do one of those, so I'm going to have to get some foam and make one.
Yeah, that sounds funny.
That'd be a good way to do interviews too. So if I do that, I'll mail you one.
Oh yeah,
and so get some green screen going, and then
that'd be awesome.
maybe our next interview will be that way. So, do people in your life? Do you have a lot of people? I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit further. Are you okay to talk for a few more minutes? Okay. Yeah. Since my house isn't blowing away, I figured, what the heck?
Does a tornado pass? Is it the worst?
I don't hear anything. It's not like I don't have the weather up or anything. I'm just going to go for it, just not worry about
I
it.
don't hear any cars anymore either, or people. Nothing.
Usually, I've been in a couple of tornadoes. Have you ever been in a tornado?
No, just maybe a dust devil on the soccer field. That's as
Well, you can feel it. You can feel the air pressure change. Like, you can feel it, and then usually it's like a wong 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 kind of thing happens. Sometimes it sounds like a train off in the distance.
like dubstep.
And yeah, dubstep without all the ecstasy and fun. No, it's tornadoes are terrifying, scary, but we don't get them real bad right here. Chattanooga gets down the road from us, gets them pretty bad. In fact, my wife's mom got hit by one last year, and it destroyed everything around her. Like, the entire neighborhood around her was gone. She got real lucky. And it's funny, the trees. She lived basically in the forest. Like it wasn't the forest, but there's so many trees you couldn't see any neighbors or anything. And when you look at the trees, they all laid like in a circle around her house. Like, they all went sideways into the circle all the way around her house. Really freaky.
That's intense.
So everybody in my family is really scared of tornadoes right now because of that. It was just like last year, almost to the day. But
yeah, well,
I'm sure it would be nothing.
What they like tell you to evacuate when, like, are they able to tell how intense a tornado is, like a earthquake maybe, and if need be you have to evacuate?
No, they come out of nowhere. I mean, they can tell you the scenario is likely to create a tornado, but they can't predict one to the point where they could, until it's happened. So when a tornado comes down, then they start sending out little alarms and stuff. Everybody gets like an Amber Alert kind of alarm on their phone, but that's the most you get. So usually the smart thing to do, especially if you live in an area that's prone to tornadoes, is you take all the stuff that you want and you put it in a central, like we have a bathroom that's like right in the middle of the house. So we have a little go bag with helmets and phone chargers and all the stuff we wish we would have had if emergency had happened, and we have it all down there ready to go if we think a tornado will happen. So
that's no joke.
No, it's crazy. So on fish, what was I going to say? Oh, okay. So do you have friends and family that have no idea that you have an aquarium channel, or don't know much more than that you keep aquariums?
Yeah, friends for sure. Family, probably. I mean, I got lots of cousins in China that wouldn't know any better. But immediate family, probably everyone knows that I have a YouTube channel. But friends, no, just the inner circle. There's like friends from high school, and the majority of Facebook, like I have like 700 Facebook friends, but I don't talk to
Sure.
even one of them
Right.
anymore, right? So, uh, like those people, they don't know, and I like to keep it that way because, like, the whole thing coming into this was never to advertise to my immediate circle or people who know me about YouTube, or yeah, just YouTube, because I feel like if I needed to do that, then it's not working. I feel like it's
Right.
working if I don't advertise it to people around me, yet still have a YouTube channel. That's when you know it works. Not like your mom and your dad and your sister or your close friends trying to. But I would appreciate more friends in the fish keeping hobby. Currently, I still don't really have like someone who I'm like, yo, fish keeping. no one, no one's really interested. There's some people who are like, oh, I have a betta, or like, I have one of my one of the pastors at my church actually has goldfish. He just recently got some goldfish. Um, his name is Chris. Chris, shout out if you're watching. um, but other than that, not many. Yeah.
It's tough, isn't it? I mean, I had I'm fortunate now in that I've met a few people around that I can kind of nerd out with every now and then. But even I mean, they have their own lives and they do their own things. But like, I've got a couple of fish tubers, in fact, that are, they sought me out uh, and stuff because we're in the same location here in Tennessee. But uh, for years, seemed like it was just me. Like, it was just me and like random people in a forum or something like that. And then I started making videos, and it's still kind of like I didn't have anything more than some books and maybe some other stuff that I learned on the internet to interact with and learn from. I didn't have anybody to bounce the crazy idea off of or something like that. It made it really tough, especially early on making videos, because you don't. I never wanted to give anybody bad information. I'm always scared. I'm always very terrified, actually, of giving like advice that's going to cause harm in some way.
Right.
I think a lot of times I come off kind of milk toast because I don't want to give you like there are things that I believe that I will never say because I can't prove it. I can't prove that that's
It's
true.
different for everyone.
Or yeah, or I put so many caveats on it. Well, if you're like this, and this,
Those are important. The disclaimers.
yeah, disclaimers and caveats are kind of what built the internet. But it's tough, and it's really neat, especially if like YouTube and fish keeping are two hobbies that are uniquely together for people like us, right? So, I you're you you seem kind of shy. Like, I haven't seen you. You've never been to a convention, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm actually a huge what's it called? Uh-oh, I'm blanking out here. Uh,
Hermit,
introvert,
introvert,
hermit, or
Int-
hermit as well. Introvert as well. Um, I'm INFJ in the Myers-Briggs personality test. If that means anything to anyone watching. Yeah, pretty shy. Yeah, but when I'm used to a certain group of people, then I open up a bit more. But new places, new scenarios, new people, I don't do too well with. And it's not like I wouldn't want to be there. It's more like social anxiety and shyness. I don't usually say yes to live interviews like this, but I've turned down pretty much every live interview except for this one. But yeah, it's because
and poor guy had to do this one twice.
no, it's because I mean I pretty much watched you from the start, so um, someone like that asking for an interview, I can't say no. I gotta embrace the social anxiety, which, by the way, I'm comfortable with you like the whole time, especially now since it's our second interview. But yeah, can't say no to Pecktec. Okay.
I really appreciate it. So, what I tell you, I have a great deal of social anxiety as well. Uh, I've kind of, I guess I have this way of putting that aside for content,
Yeah.
and I have a, although I feel like I'm really genuine on on YouTube and when I talk to a camera because it's not a person, I talk to the camera as if it's a person, and I try to imagine it's a friend of mine when I speak, and so I think that I come off as genuine also, and I try to be that way. I think a little less so in person, mostly because uh, my attention deficit disorder kind of goes into override, especially at conventions and stuff. And I'm I'm listening and trying to. I'll try my best to listen to what the person in front of me is saying, but I'm also noticing this conversation over here and that. I have like incredibly good hearing, so I hear every conversation around me, and my brain is processing it independently.
Oh man.
I get really confused. I get really, and I get to sometimes to the point where I can't speak, and it's really difficult, like to just kind of try to hone in on what's going on right in front of me and interact with that person and stuff. So if you've ever run into me live someplace and I was awkward, that's why. They won't let me drink everywhere I go. No, I'm kidding.
What do you got there? What's your go-to drink for today?
This is a vodka and cranberry juice.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Um, I like to have a little drink. Like I never drink. Like, okay, both times you've seen me, I've been drinking. But
I don't believe you when you say you never drink. What is this? Nice try.
it's become my thing. But it's become my thing. Like with these interviews, like I think for almost every interview, I had a drink on hand,
Yeah.
and it's just it helped me. I feel like I'm less wooden that way. And whenever I do a live streams for me are the worst. Like I hate live stream. And like, if someone else hosts it, I'm cool.
Mhm.
If I'm hosting it and I've got to watch the comments, I've had some real crazy bad uh, incidents with comments and people, things just kind of going awry and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm always very vigilant. And that was before the days where you can really have a bunch of admins added and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I get way too distracted if there's comments going and stuff too. So you don't do many live streams, do you?
Not really. I mean, I try it from here to there, um, time to time, and it's okay. It's not my favorite thing either. It's probably more stressful than just doing a video. And some people
Yeah.
like it, but like some of my audience do enjoy it, and I did try to do it more, but I think my energy is just better spent, elsewhere. I might start it up later on, but who knows? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's all
What I noticed too is that
yeah. It's also because like
I'm sorry, go
no
ahead.
problem. I just don't feel like I'm like super interesting, So I don't know, like, because when I did my some live streams before, I would play Minecraft or uh, take the time up to do something instead of just talk. Um, I haven't actually tried just live streaming and just talking because I felt like I'm not that like what what is there what's there so much to say about? And for fish advice too, like are there always going to be people asking for fish advice in the comments? Or I don't know everything. I don't know that much compared to some other people like you or like for example LR Brett's the guy who does Friday Night Live shows
Yeah.
every Friday. Like he has a wealth of knowledge, right? And for him, it makes sense live streams because then he can answer all your questions. Or of course, Corey from Aquarium Co-op as well, right? So, but we'll see.
Oh, both those guys do really well with live streams. Like, I really admire the way they're able to just and each individually infinitely smarter than I am about how they keep like the wide variety of fish and stuff. Like, I know the stuff that I've kept pretty well, but man, those guys have seen so many things.
Yeah,
I got to walk around LR's house. It is incredible. I mean, there's just aquariums everywhere. He's the only other person whose house I've been to that's a fish tuber. Like, I've never been to anyone else's home or anything. I was blown away by the scale of his fish. I felt like a real noob with my little 13 aquariums that are all little things and stuff. That guy. Oh my gosh, there was just a giant aquarium, literally like you every couple of feet there's another giant aquarium full of fish and plants and stuff. I'd love to get you out to a convention at some point. I think the spectacle of it might be something that you, I don't know if you'd love it or hate it, but you can hide in your hotel room if you get too much.
if I can hide my face, that would be great. If nobody knew, um, hopefully nobody
do,
will.
you,
I don't know.
do you think that would be, well, I tell you what, the only time, and I say it all the time, YouTubers aren't celebrities. They're no matter how much they feel like one, even the most popular ones, there's still millions and millions of people that have no idea who they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
And but when I go to an aquarium store and some little boy runs up to me and goes, Pecktec, Pecktec, Pecktec,
That's
or
awesome.
just I had this one that came up to me and he was like, I was like, is he okay? And his mom's like, he's a big fan. We watch your videos all the time, and you could tell like she didn't like them. Like, she's already sick of me, and that kid's just like
it's Pecktec.
flipping out down there. Those make it worth it, you know. And going to a fish show, gosh, especially now, like they have Aquashella is like geared to fish tuber life
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's really neat. Uh, and then the low key ones like in I guess near Washington, the Capital Cichlid Association does the big fish deal. It's a real low key one room kind of thing. I think something like that would be the kind of thing to kind of dip your feet into. It's interesting. It's a really interesting, different thing to do, and it's fun to get face to face with people that have the same hobbies as you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Definitely.
Do you have clubs up there or anything like that?
There's like this one club that I searched for some time ago, and the last posting for it or any update for it was like 2 years ago. I'm sure there's some other smaller, maybe underground clubs, but yeah, few and far between, really.
And
Especially,
I envy the people that have big active clubs like that. I really, we have a couple that have tried to start up here with different levels of success. Uh, I've been too busy, like just in the past couple of years, to really be super involved in anything. But a couple of people like use your use your platform to get us more club members and stuff like that. I was like, well, I'll talk about it, but don't put me on your board of directors or anything because I ain't doing nothing.
Have you found that a lot of your viewers are from the same area that you are living, or not really?
They seem to be from all over. Like when I look in analytics, like of course most of them are in California. But I don't. I wonder if that's a population thing because I got a pretty heavy viewership in New York also,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of Tennessee people, but I think people find me mostly from Fluval product videos that I've done,
Hmm.
and so those are sold all over the world. And uh, you know, I've got viewers in literally every continent and all around the globe. So, but it's mostly United States and Australia. Oddly enough, like I've got a lot of viewers from Australia, which I always think that's interesting.
Nice.
Have you noticed a concentration of your viewership in any particular geographic area?
US for sure. That's where most of the people come from, and then Canada and India. Surprisingly, Canada makes a
Really?
little more sense because I put it out there that I'm Canadian, and that might attract some Canadians, but India as well. I think because I don't know, there's a lot of people in India, so
So there's this thing on and non-YouTube people won't really understand, but there's a CPM value that's usually associated with particular geographic areas. And at one point, the Ukraine was paying like a lot, like it was double what it was in all these other places. So I thought, ha, I'll just start looking up Ukrainian words for fish tank and aquarium and this type of thing, all these words, right? And I was adding them to the metadata, you could add those
yeah,
little keywords and stuff. And I was just putting them in that language, Skrillic or whatever you call it, and stuff. And then for like 2 years, I was constantly being pirated. Where they were ripping my video down and then they re-upload it. Every video that had any of those things on it was just like I was. Now YouTube's got real convenient ways to go get it, but before I was just getting emails from random people going, "Hey, this guy ripped off your video," or this person.
oh no,
So I have to be careful chasing the money, I guess. So, what do you think is the least important item in a fish tank?
right. Least important item. I remember this question. I don't know if it's going to match the first time I answered.
It doesn't have to. No one will know.
What did I say? I can't remember. Okay, I guess I'll just give it. Now, let me see. Hmm. Least important item. I guess the heater. If you're living in a, you know, place where you don't need a heater. Aquarium co-ops talked about this for a bit. They're saying heaters aren't really necessary especially if your temperature is telling you that you don't doesn't need to be any hotter. Uh,
Like if it never comes on or something.
yeah, yeah, I guess so. That would
I
be
always keep mine a little bit over room temperature, but some people, like I know Rachel's got her whole basement is just at the temperature that she wants it to be at, and they're all so she doesn't use heaters. I think a lot of fish room people
yeah.
do that. My wife won't allow that to happen.
She doesn't want to live in a tropical rainforest temperature.
Not unless that tropical rainforest is consistently 68 degrees.
Oh no.
So last time, do you want to know what your answer was?
Wait, wait.
Your answer last time was the decor.
Oh yeah, I was gonna guess that. I was gonna say hardscape this time, but then yeah, I went more literal, I guess. Yeah, decor.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. Similar kind of concept there. So you've said before that your favorite fish is the Endler's live bear.
Yes, sir.
Why is that? Why is that one your favorite out of all those fish?
It is the first one that introduced me to the hobby. Uh, basically. So I feel a certain connection with it, but it also looks cool and it also has really cool behaviors. Looks, I would say, cooler than guppies. They're small. I
Yeah.
love small fish. Um, and yeah, they're the ones that introduced me to the hobby. The story is that it's a true story, and I put it in a rap song. It's called Hobby by FFT. Um, and it's basically just I got sick with the flu or whatever, and then I was checking it out when I was a kid, um, and in a walking clinic, I saw this fish tank, and I was looking in the fish tank, and I see all these fish just swimming, but then there was this one fish that was looking around, pecking at the plants and interacting with the environment and trying to find some food, I would guess. And it looked different from all the other fish. From what I can remember, it was the only live bear in the tank. Everything else was a tetra. And at that moment, when it was interacting with the environment and the Anubias, um, I knew that I wanted to get into this hobby and make a fish tank like this uh, for myself. And I think this tank kind of kind of reminds me of that first fish tank that caught me or caught my eye. Yeah.
That's great. That's a cool story. You saw a little hungry fish and you thought, I'm hungry too.
Yeah, but I can't eat anything because I'm sick.
I would totally nibble that plant if I were in there with you. I love endlers. I think they're really, really neat. Unfortunately, I think mine have been hybridized out and they're part guppy now, but um, I really love, especially the true endlers. They're so unpredictably colorful
Yeah.
and uh, fascinating and small. The males are very small.
Yeah. I love it. I love Nano Fish.
I do too. I do too. I really, I'd love a tank full of like really, really tiny fish, even more than like I've got a couple of big fish, and I think they're really interesting, and they do have personality that you don't get from the little ones. But man, a tank full of I at one point I had 20 rummy nose tetras, and to see them just kind of go across that 55, just like all together and
Yeah.
these big keys back and forth, it was just oh, I love that,
Yeah. Super tank
love that.
spoilers.
Yes. Well, Chris, I've had a great time talking to you again. Thank you so much for being a good sport and coming back on to chat.
Thank you for all your efforts trying to make this work. Appreciate it.
It's been a fun merry-go-round, and maybe we'll get together and come back and do some other stuff. I'm going to edit this out, and we'll see how it goes, and maybe we'll keep exploring with some more technologies and do some more stuff. I'd love to collab with you anytime you want.
Yeah, sure.
Just let me
Open to it.
know. Thanks for joining us today. Next week we have the final episode that I filmed with Corey from Aquarium Co-op. He's an absolute YouTube legend, and I'm excited to show him to you. It's all coming up next week. See you then.